Yo, what's good, and welcome back to another Modern Warfare 2 video. Today we're jumping into my top 5 best guns you guys need to be using. All right, the first gun we take a look at here today is going to be the MP7, aka the MW2. Sorry my game looks like this. For whatever reason, it's glitching out super hard today, but here's my general attachment overview for this. So let's get into the first attachment, which is going to be that Tango 228 barrel. You get an increase in damage range, hipfire accuracy, and of course bullet velocity. Overall, a really solid barrel to be able to run to really extend out the range on this thing and make it better at those closer range when you get into those hipfire situations. It's really solid for multiplayer. The tune on that is going to be a -0.31 and -0.27. After that, we're going to go down here. We're going to run the FSS Shark Fin 90. So this is going to have no cons to it, which is something that we really enjoy. Having no cons on an underbarrel is really solid. And this thing doesn't need to be stabilized all that much, so you can get away with running it. The tune on that's going to be a +0.62 for that recoil stabilization, and really to stabilize it out with the +0.40 there on the bottom. At that, we're going to leave the ammunition in the magazine the same as nothing. We're going to go up in here and run the VLK Laser 7 MW for the ADS speed, aiming stability, and of course sprint to fire speed. You can really never go wrong with this attachment. It's good pretty much no matter how you want to run it or whatever gun you run it on. And the tune on that's going to be a -0.32 and a -26.32. And then we're going to go on back here now for a rear grip section. We're going to throw on the ZLR combat grip for that increase in recoil control. This thing's definitely going to bounce around a little bit, so this is really going to help us out, just kind of control it. And we're also going to kind of use this to speed it up even here ever so slightly as well with the tune. And that is going to be a -0.42 and a -0.22, a little bit more for that sprint to fire and ADS speed, as opposed to recoil steadiness and aiming stability. For our last attachment, we got the Demo RTX stock, crouch movement speed, sprint speed, and aim down sight speed. Great stock here to be able to have on this gun, and it's really fun overall build to be able to use as well. So the tune on that is going to be a -1.03 and a -1.55, and that'll finish out my full build there for the MW2. Once again, sorry it looks like that. This is just Modern Warfare 2 being Modern Warfare 2. Up next, we're going to take a look at the Cast-Off 74U, and this gun is once again glitching out like the other one. I guess it's kind of a cool view, but anyways, this is my favorite build here to be able to run on. I want to share it with you guys. So our first attachment is going to be the BR209 barrel. That increase in movement speed and ADS speed is actually pretty huge because we don't really use this gun as an actual assault rifle, even though it is in the assault rifle category. We use this as an SMG, so this barrel will really help us out with that and make it more SMG-like. This is going to be a +0.18 on the tune and a +0.13 there on the bottom. Now we're going to go straight in here to the laser section once again for that FSS OLE. You guys kind of know the drill and what this thing actually does, so we're not really going to talk about that too much. But the tune on that is going to be a -0.32 and a -14.18. And then next up, we're going to go down here. We're going to throw on a magazine, and we're going to throw on the 45 round mag. So you guys don't necessarily have to run a magazine. If you don't want to run maybe like a magazine, something like that, you can go throw on a muzzle. If you really want to stabilize the gun out more, throw on like something like a FTAC, Castle Comp, anything else like that. But usually speaking, a magazine, you really can't go wrong with this, and it's not going to slow the gun down too much. After that, we're going to go in here to the rear grip section, and we're going to throw on the Demo X2 grip. This can help us out with that increase in recoil control because this gun, like I said, does like to bounce around a little bit, so this will really help us out. And the tune on this is going to be a -0.35 and -0.25. And then lastly, for our last attachment up here, we're going to go throw on the O-Trees at stock. Now, I know there's a few different options in here, like the Broadside FCT, the Marquee of R7, but the O-Trees at just ends up working out really well when you combine all these attachments together. I mean, you get that increase there for your aim walking speed and sprint speed, which is definitely what we really want out of this gun here. We got to be able to aim down sight and move around real fast and just kind of move faster because we're trying to be more SMG-like. The tune on this here is going to be -2.19 and -1.16. And that is going to round out my full build there for the Cast-Off 74U. All right, next up, we're going to be taking a look here at the FSS Hurricane. So I know this probably will throw some people off, but the Hurricane's actually really good. And with having a 50-round magazine, this is an incredible SMG to use, and you're going to have a lot of fun running around in multiplayer with it, and you're going to be absolutely shredding. And I actually showed it in a previous video, so you guys can see some of that proof right there. But first attachment is the X10 RR40. Sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, recoil smoothness. This can really stabilize the gun out while making it more effective at range, which is something we really like. The tune on that is going to be a -0.36 and -0.61. So highly recommend you tune it a little bit more for the ADS speed and aiming stability. After that, we're going to skip the barrel section, go right on down here to the underbarrel. And this is another case for one of those guns that doesn't need a ton of stabilization, but it needs a little bit. So that's why we have the FSS Shark Fin 90, just to increase our aiming idle stability. And the tune on that is going to be a +0.46 and -0.05. After that, we're gonna go up in here and we're gonna throw on that tried and true FSS OLE laser. I mean, listen, you really can't go wrong no matter what gun you throw this on. The only downside is that the laser is visible in ADS, which to me personally, I don't really care if the laser is visible upon ADS or not. I believe it's actually, you know, not that big of a deal. I mean, if people actually care about that, I mean, oh well, but I personally think that the TTK is so fast that by the time you're ADSing at someone, they're probably not going to know what hit them. The tune on that is going to be a -0.34 and a -36.19. Now we're going to go on all the way back here to that rear grip, and we're going to throw in the X10 grip. So this is that sprint to fire speed, aim down sight speed. The Phantom grip is going to do the same thing in terms of your sprint to fire and ADS, but you are going to get that flinch resistance con, which you guys can see pop up there. And I used to actually run this, but I felt the flinch resistance was a little bit too much, so I switched over to the X10 grip, and I felt this was actually really solid when I ran it like this, and I wasn't getting much of that con anymore. The tune on that is going to be a -26 or 0.26 and -0.15. Now let's move it on back here for the final attachment, which is going to be the demo Quicksilver stock. We had to run the Quicksilver stock, not to be confused with the demo Quicksilver collapse. This one is much better than the collapse. You get way too many recoil control, you know, cons of this one. It just makes this gun super bouncy. That's not what we're trying to be able to achieve with this. We're trying to get that mobility without losing like all of our recoil control, so that's why we run that. And the tune on this thing here is going to be a -2.84 and a -1.24. So that'll round out my full build there for the FSS Hurricane. Give it a shot. It's a really fun gun to be able to use. Now we're taking a look here at one of my favorite assault rifles to use in the entire game, the M4. So the M4, like, is just such a tried and true assault rifle that we've been running since the beginning of the game. It's just so good for a variety of reasons. So let's get into my build here for it. So first thing is going to be the FTAC Castle Comp, horizontal and vertical recoil control. This gun definitely likes to bounce when you actually make it like any bit mobile. If you don't actually completely slow it down, it's going to want to bounce. So that's why we have the Castle Comp on there. The tune on this is going to be a -0.52 and a +0.19. A lot more for that gun kit control, which is definitely something we really need on this gun. After that, a must-use attachment is going to be the High Tower 20 barrel. So every time I talk about the M4, I always say the High Tower barrel is what you guys need to be able to run. It is just kind of a staple for what I would say is every single M4 build, unless you're trying to make it into like a hybrid AR SMG. The tune on that is going to be a -0.50 all the way maxed out down there on the bottom. One of the few times you can max something out. The -0.23 here on this. Now let's actually get in here down to the underbarrel section for that FTAC Ripper 56. Aiming idle stability, hipfire accuracy, and recoil stabilization. This is one of those guns where we can't really get away with running that shark fin 90 or an underbarrel that's not going to have any cons. We definitely do have to take some cons, which is okay, but this is going to stabilize it out and make this gun a lot more usable. The tune on that is going to be a +0.70 and a +0.30. Now let's get up in here and hey, listen, look at that. Once again, FSS OLE. Like I said, you can't ever go wrong with that, so I'm not going to explain it. But the tune on that is going to be a -0.15 and a +26.32. Then for our final attachment, we've gone back here and added the Tempest P80 strike stock. So I like to be super aggressive and mobile with all my setups, and this is really going to help me do that with an assault rifle, and, you know, namely the M4 here, since that's what we're making. But this is a great attachment to be able to run, and I highly recommend you guys try this out, or this specific build. And the tune on that is going to be all the way maxed out for the ADS speed and a -0.93. So that's my full build there for the M4. Hope you guys enjoy it. For our final gun here today, we're going to be taking a look at the TAC 56. I felt if I was going to make a top 5, I at least had to throw one of these two, the Vaznev or the TAC, in there. And I decided to include the TAC because, I mean, obviously this is used in competitive play and it's also one of the most highly picked guns in the entire game. But for our first attachment, let's get into it, break it all down. The 17.5 Tundra Pro barrel, damage range, hip fire accuracy, and bullet velocity. I mean, you really just can't go wrong with this. I mean, this is just going to make this thing more effective at range, at distance. The tune on that is going to be a +0.13 and -0.09. After that, we're going to go on down here. We're going to run the FSS Shark Fin 90. This is one of those guns where you don't need to really run anything crazy. Just kind of stabilize out a little bit, and this will really help us out. The tune on that is going to be, if that actually pops up there, -0.10 and -0.18. After that, we're going to go up in here, and I mean, this is kind of like a reoccurring theme attachment, not really on purpose. It's just, it's really effective at what it does. So we got the FSS OLE. The tune on that is going to be -0.11 and a -11.52. Now we're going to go on back here and throw on a rear grip, and that's going to be the demo clean shot. So sprint to fire speed increase, aim down sight speed increase. Really can't go wrong with that. I mean, it's just going to make this thing, you know, quicker, which is ultimately what we want. And the recoil control, I really don't notice that because the TAC 56 has incredibly minimal and super manageable recoil. That tune on that's going to be -0.52 and -0.04. For our final attachment on this, we're going to throw in the TV Cardinal stock. So aim walking speed and sprint speed. This is just to kind of, like I said, overall speed the guns up. I like to be super aggressive with all my builds. I don't like feeling sluggish and slow. That is not my playstyle, what I like to do. And the tune on that is going to be a plus 2.32 and a negative 0.93. So that is my full build there. That is my top 5. You guys enjoyed, give it a like, subscribe, and also check out this other video on screen. I would really appreciate it. See you guys later.